Welcome to episode 37 of the Whatnauts Review Show, where each week we pick a story and we talk about it. Could be a movie, TV series, anime, manga, comic book, audio show, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we discuss it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by my co-captain, Kyle Springer.
That's me. Hello.
Kyle, how are you this week?
I am doing good. It's snowing
It is!
outside. We have about 2 or 3 inches right now, which is both fantastic and also really bad because I don't have very much food.
Oh,
so
no.
hopefully it doesn't snow too much, or I can once this is done with, I can go at least I'm gonna get a couple frozen pizzas and hunker down.
That's all the food you need to hunker.
In my house, yeah. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been snowing here a lot recently, which is unusual. Normally it doesn't get snowy until later in December, into January, February, March. That's snow season in St. Louis. But no, we've gotten 5 considerable snowfalls so far, and it's weird.
Interesting. This is our second one. The first one we had, I think, was last weekend, last Saturday, and it snowed for an hour, and it didn't stick. So it's just oh, I guess it snowed.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yesterday, I went over to a friend's house, and we had a Hallmark holiday movie marathon.
Hallmark holiday movie marathon. Hallmark movies meaning what?
Oh, those super cheesy movies they play on the Hallmark Channel during the holiday season, and it's all Home for Christmas and Reunited for Christmas and The Christmas Miracle, and they're all just these
Miracle on 35th
romances.
Street. It's the knockoffs of Christmas movies.
No, they're all about big town women that go to small towns and they fall for a small town man and they light a Christmas tree together and there's a spunky kid. It's that kind of thing. And we just drank boozy hot chocolate and we made fun of them for 8 hours.
Amazing.
It was very good.
Sounds good. We're watching a holiday film this week.
Yes, it is holiday adjacent. We are watching the movie Rise of the Guardians. This is a 2012 animated DreamWorks movie. It was directed by Peter Ramsey, and it stars Chris Pine as Jack Frost, Alec Baldwin as Santa Claus, Hugh Jackman is the Easter Bunny, Isla Fisher as the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman is in this, but he doesn't talk, and Jude Law is the Boogeyman. And it doesn't take place at Christmas, It takes place at Easter, but Santa is in it, and it's full of winter times. So it's very nearly a holiday movie.
I don't know, because you grew up in the Midwest, where I grew up on the East Coast. When I was younger, it would start to get cold and snowy, in November and December.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's that doesn't happen until February or March. Here, I don't know. It's obviously snowing right now, and it's in the middle of December. But our really cold months are January and February.
It's the same here. We start getting chilly in October. Normally it doesn't get cold enough to snow until late in December. November is chilly, but it's warm enough that it's just
global
rainy.
Warming.
Yeah, I know, but it's so rigid and so snowy and icy so early this year. So I don't know what this means for our normal snow times in February, if we're just going to get a weird fluke and it's going to be 60 degrees.
Because, I mentioned that because, you said that this film kind of takes place around Easter.
Yes.
Which is interesting. I don't think it ever actually snows in the film outside of what Jack Frost makes it do.
Mm-hmm.
And they all seem surprised that it's snowing that late. But it seems this seems more in a wintertime Christmas holiday film than something I would watch during Easter.
Yeah.
Which is strange. I mean, not that I have... There are a bunch of Easter movies.
I think this came out in a November. This was a holiday theatrical release, and then it was a home video release in time for Easter. So I think that's why they kind of put both in there so they could get the most of both holiday audiences. But besides when it does and doesn't snow in our respective communities, Kyle, can I get some brief upfront thoughts about this film?
Yes. This film surprised me. I had never seen it before.
Right?
Didn't really know what to expect. And I think I liked it a lot better than I was expecting to.
That's good. Nice.
I still don't know if I would watch it again. But yeah, I think if you're looking for a holiday film that is maybe not people's first thought or like first choice, wanting to find something new, I think this is a fantastic one. And it's not necessarily Christmas related. Like you said, it was holiday adjacent. It's an interesting story. It's a little bit of a weird one just by the premise.
Yeah. Oh, so the premise is that all of these holiday guardians, as I've mentioned earlier, well, just general childhood guardians, Santa, the Easter Bunny.
A council of guardians that are there to guard the children's happiness.
Yeah. So they're in charge of you. Not just at Christmas is Santa Claus watching over you and keeping you safe. It's all the time, and it's been like this for centuries. And so now the man in the moon, who's like their Zordon, has summoned Jack Frost, a teenager with attitude, to join the Guardian Power Rangers, essentially. And they're fighting off the Boogeyman.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Like I both really like the concept and at the same time really don't. It's like, why do it with Santa? What? No one wants to see the Tooth Fairy in action. Like,
I was reading about the background of this movie, and it was based on these books by, I believe the author's name was William Joyce. And he said he started writing these books after his little kids asked him, he was all prepared for like what he would do as a dad when they were like, Dad, is Santa Claus real? And like what he was going to answer that. And instead they were just like, Dad, does Santa and the Easter Bunny, do they know each other? Are they friends? Do they hang out with the Tooth Fairy? So like, this is what his little kids were asking about. And he's like, well, yes, they do. And I'm going to tell you a story about how they all know each other and what they do together.
One day work was very, very difficult. So they all went to the local bar and got shit-faced. It was fantastic. The end. No.
I would like that variant as well. But no, it's very whimsical.
Yeah.
It's super whimsical. So I get that it is like, you're really on board with it or you're not for this concept.
Despite me cursing a lot, this is very much a like kid-friendly family movie, warm your heart holiday film.
Yeah.
It's okay to believe in magic. You just have to believe, and everything will be better. But yeah, it's good. I guess we kind of mentioned the synopsis. Man on the Moon is like, Jack, you're a Power Ranger now. And he's like, okay, I don't know what you mean, but okay. And then they become Power Rangers and they defeat the Boogeyman.
Yeah. And there's little kids in the movie that they help out because, it's not the general concept of all children. It's also like these couple kids in this one town that get wrapped up in the adventure for a little bit.
Wait, when did you first watch this?
I saw this in the theaters. I was really looking forward to this. This came out when I was in college, and I was a huge animation nerd when I was in college. So I'd been looking forward to this for a long time. Like, since I'd first heard about it, I'm like, oh, that sounds fantastic. So I went to see it the opening weekend, I think. And then I bought the art book for it.
You're like a big fan.
Not really.
You have the art book.
I was given like an Amazon gift card like shortly after I saw this movie, and I'm like, that movie was really pretty. I want to learn more about how they made it. So I bought the giant art book, and then I never really broke into it. And I don't think I've rewatched this movie since I saw it in the theaters. I'll do this with stuff. I'll get like really enthusiastic about something for a little while, and then I will just forget it's real. So this was nice to revisit
holiday
it.
movies. I should pitch holiday movies. Rise of the Guardians. Okay.
Yeah, it was good to revisit, and it was good to actually sit down and read through the art book so I could show up with like facts to tell you, behind the scenes facts.
Oh, sweet. Sounds good.
Mm.
Let's do the quick housekeeping.
Yes.
And then we will dive into spoiler territory. What I should do, I should make like a scene change thing for when it's like spoiler stuff. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, housekeeping stuff. This is the penultimate episode of the review show for 2018. Season 1 is coming to a close. I pitch the next episode at the end of this one, and that is going to be our final episode of the year. And then we will be back in 2000. What is it? 19?
Oh, it's too big.
Yeah. So we will be back. We're gonna take, I guess, 2 weeks off or so for the holidays.
Yeah.
Though we record the episode, I guess for us it's a week from today. The final episode will come out for you guys the weekend before Christmas. So enjoy that. That should be fun. That being said, go like, share, subscribe, sell your soul, all the things that you need to do to help us out on the social medias and the interwebs. We could really use your help, especially here on Twitch. Twitch.tv/the Whatnauts, or on our website, thewhatnauts.com/live streams. You guys can follow us on Twitch, and that will help us out a ton. We're hoping to reach 50 followers soon. I think right now we're sitting at like 26-ish, something like that.
Please show us you believe in us.
Show us you believe. Yeah, so that would be fantastic. YouTube as well, youtube.com/ actually, we don't have a link, so I don't know why I went into the thing. See, I'm ready to go.
In the future.
If we get 100 subscribers on YouTube, we can make our own link thing, and I can have that. I'm already ready to go, but we're not there yet. So help us out there. But you guys can find us on YouTube just by searching the Whatnauts podcast, and our channel will come up.
I have been checking in on the YouTube videos more often, just like watching a couple minutes of them to see how they turned out, and they're really fun. They look great.
They're getting there,
you put a nice graphic border around everything. You get to watch us actually talk to each other. It's fun. Try it out if you haven't tried it before.
Yes, and you guys can see my Metal Gear Solid poster behind me, as well as my Zelda Four Swords poster behind me. It's fantastic. And you can know what our cute faces look like.
Yes, we're very cute.
That being said, let's get on with the show.
Yeah.
Let's get on with the show. Spoiler alert. We are about to dive into this stuff. So if you have not seen Rise of the Guardians yet, go watch that. It's a great holiday film. You can watch with the kids if you have them, or if you are a kid, go watch it. It's fun.
Yeah. Kids and for kids at heart. Like, legitimately, I think this isn't too schmaltzy of a movie for you to not watch as an adult.
Yeah, it's good.
It's sort of sweet and nostalgic. It's not like a kitty movie.
There you go. Melissa, with the art book facts.
Yes.
What does your art book and your notes have to say about this film? What do you want to talk about first?
I actually do want to talk about the art first. I feel like the last couple times we've covered something animated, like we dive right into the story, and then it's like in my closing thoughts that I'm like, yeah, and the art was really good too.
Sometimes we do gloss over that, and that's not intentional.
We only have so much time. We only have so much to cover. But for this one, I actually want to lead with the art, because this is what attracted me to this movie in the first place, and this is what I've remembered from it. Like, I didn't remember a lot of plot specifics, but I just remembered how pretty it was. And like, you're an art kid, so I'm really interested to hear your perspective and like what designs you liked and what you thought about how they built everything in this world.
Yeah. I think for me, the major thing that stood out, well, before I mention that, the main character is Jack Frost.
Yes.
But I don't know what he looks like.
Like, that's the thing.
That's the thing that I think they had a very open-ended, like, was Jack Frost a snowman?
Is he a Michael Keaton snowman?
Yeah, he seemed to me to get a design more from like a Huckleberry Finn kind of just Tom Sawyer. I don't know if I'm mentioning the right names, but just like this kid from maybe, I don't know, the late 1800s, early 1900s, who's like barefoot, walking around, having fun, causing mischief.
More specifically, like the little town he's from is set in like the late 1600s. It's a settler town loosely around like Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So it's set like really in the beginning days of American settlement.
Colonial America. He didn't have a British accent, though. That's interesting.
I guess that's true. Yeah, if it's that early in American history, we haven't bred that English accent out of us yet.
Not really.
Think about that.
That being said, side note, not related to the art, I didn't like Jack Frost's voice. I don't think, not that he wasn't acted well, I just don't think his voice fit the character, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It didn't look like it was coming out of him.
I wrote that in my notes too. Like Chris Pine, I think like his personality is suited for the personality of Jack. Like, but Jack is supposed to be like 16. And like Chris Pine does not sound like a 16-year-old.
He sounds like a grown-ass man.
He's really well suited for this role in every other respect, except that he sounds like an adult man, which is weird. But otherwise, I did really like the voice cast in this movie. Also,
the ladies love me.
Starship Captain Jack Frost.
Live long and prosper, kids. But no, like she should have like a more youthful voice of just like, hey, like I'm a kid too, and that's not really what he sounded like. So, oh well. Back to the art though.
Yes.
So that was interesting for me to see, because I don't know necessarily where I would take that. I think especially just my first thought and first ideas are usually not your best ones in the art world. Sometimes things need a little bit more developing. I think I would have gone with the snowman. Yeah, I or some kind of like more icy looking monster type of thing. Like his hair was white in this, but it didn't look icy. It looked like there was some like light snow on his clothes, but that was it. So even more like a more like solid icy looking hair, like it was frozen or something. I don't know, but that was an interesting thing for me, just to see him like so simple and just like he just looks like a human with a stick. I like his design a lot, and I remember like this was back when I was on Tumblr. We were talking earlier this week about the heyday of Tumblr. This movie came out during the latest episode of the Captain's Log, which you can go get at thewhatnauts.com or by subscribing on iTunes. Just search for The Whatnauts and Captain's Log will pop up there as well. Continue.
But yeah, the heyday of Tumblr was when this movie came out for me. This was in 2012. And I do remember everybody loving Jack's design. Like there was a lot of Jack fan art. There was a lot of Jack cosplay and everything. And I think his design works for who he is, which is this colonial boy who went out trying to like skate across the frozen pond with his kid sister. And the ice starts cracking and he falls in and he drowns. And so I like that he looks like just this pale, frigid boy and not like any kind of a supernatural creature. Like just a pale boy.
Yeah.
In a hoodie. And I liked that too. I like that since he's been around so long, he has grown along with the times a little bit. Like, he's not a modern kid. He's not like making pop culture references or anything like that. He just has a hoodie on, which I feel like is just enough.
Yeah. It's kind of funny to think about all the other characters in this and like, oh, what are their stories? Well, there's Santa, who is this jolly old fellow who delivers presents to children on a certain night every single year. That's fantastic. There's the Tooth Fairy, who takes children's teeth and exchanges it for money. She's a small little fairy. There's the Easter Bunny, who's just this big rabbit who hides these Easter eggs, or these eggs, and children find them, and inside is candy, and it's amazing. And then there's Jack. He's a young boy who drowned.
Yes. He is the Casper the Friendly Ghost of this world.
Like, he does not fit with them at all, and it's really funny. But speaking of the other characters, I both loved and hated Santa. The first thing we see of Santa is what I hate the most.
Which is what?
His tattoos.
They're so corny, but in a way
They're
that
so
like
bad.
Works for me. Okay. They're not the best actual designs, but I do like the concept of him just having these two huge muscly forearm tats, and one says naughty and one says nice.
He has sleeves on both of his arms. It's terrible.
I think it's so funny.
And one says naughty and one says nice. It is awful. It's terrible. But besides that, though, once they kind of show those, I don't think there's maybe one other time that they reference them, but besides that, you don't see them. But the other aspects of the Santa design, I think, are really interesting, because they're almost like Eastern European / Russian type of thing. And like, when you think of Santa, like, that's not the classical imagery that you think of when Santa comes to mind, right? They just released a new Netflix, I guess, series or movie with Kurt Russell as Santa, and he fits the part. He looks amazing as that. Looks exactly what I think of when I think of Santa. But he's like this big, burly, like, Russian man whose hair is white, but his eyebrows are still black. He almost looks like a more buff Christopher Lee. He almost looks like Sauron.
Yeah.
And it works. It's really cool, actually. So I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I really like all the character designs in this movie. And one thing they talk about in the book is that every character's kind of got a key color, which is fairly common in animation, but also all of them were based on a shape. Like, Santa's very square, and Sandman is very round, and Bunny's very triangular, and the Tooth Fairy's like a diamond, and Jack's like a snowflake hexagon. So yeah, they use this very basic, like, illustrative language with these characters. Like, they've all got a color, they've all got a shape. There's something very primary about them, and like very kid-friendly without being oversimplified.
Yeah, well, I mean, so my degree is in graphic design, and one of the things that we're often taught is to simplify things to its most basic shape, and kind of go from there. Whether you keep it at those most basic shapes to represent it, or like, I know that whole thing you hear about in the army or something, or in the military, where they're like, we're gonna tear you down so we can build you back up. Hoorah, you know. It's that kind of thing. Like, we will break something down to its most basic shape so we can understand it a little bit more, and then we'll build it back up. And I think that's kind of what they were doing with this, where they did, like, if we were to, like, I mean, we already think of Santa as this big, like, boulder of a man, right? Who's just this happy-go-lucky, jolly fellow. And when you think of a big man, you often think of, like, square shoulders and, like, a broad chest. And so with those shapes in mind, they kind of built him out, and I think that's how they came up with that design. And it's one that I don't think they needed to stylize really beyond that simplification of just, hey, here's a shape.
Yes.
He will be this shape, and that is Santa.
Yes.
And it works, and I think it's like each character is distinct. I mean, one is a human, one's a fairy, one's a bunny. Who knows what the hell the Sandman is?
He's made out of sand. He's a sandcastle man.
Yeah. But he's that. You remember that stuff in the 90s that was like that underwater sand stuff? Yeah.
He's moon
what if
sand.
he's that? He's moon sand. Interesting. But yeah. So, like, I think it's good that they went with that. Like, here's a shape, here's a color. It's kind of what I do here at the Whatnauts with the, like, review show and captain's log stuff. We've kind of gotten away from the symbols. We used to, the review show used to be the rocket ship. The captain's log used to be a little astronaut. We had a planet and stuff like that. But now we go with colors. The review show is red, the captain's log is blue, the reactor core is yellow, or I guess you could say it's black, because like big things of yellow don't really look all that fantastic. But yeah, like, it's just some kind of visual language that is easily distinguishable. Just like, here's that one, and there's no confusion between the two. So now that I've gone way too deep into
good stuff,
design stuff, and everyone has glazed their eyes over and tuned out.
I also want to talk about Pitch, who is the boogeyman. That's his character archetype, but, like, his name, what they call him, is Pitch,
which I think is a really neat name.
Pitch
Black.
Yes, I loved his design.
I wonder if he's related to Sirius.
way up there in the Black family tree. Yeah.
He's like a third cousin. Bitch, Sirius, it's been 10 years. I know, where have you been?
I like Pitch a lot because a lot of these characters are humanoid. Santa, human. Jack Frost, human.
Sandman? Moon
The
Sand?
Tooth Fairy's like a human-bird hybrid, but her face is very humanoid. Sandman's, the Easter Bunny's a bunny. The Sandman's kind of humanoid looking. But Pitch looks the least human of all of them, bunny aside, because he's a bunny. Like, Sandman is human, very simplified. Like I said, he's like a sandcastle man. But Pitch is, like, even more, like, blunt beyond that. Like, he's barely human in this really weird way where he's in this uncanny valley of being just close enough to human to be recognizable, but, like, he's so blunt and blocky. And I was reading in this art book that it wasn't just in his visual design that they made him kind of unnatural and off-putting. They said, our surfacing team came up with a very subtle non-human skin for him. So this even went down into, like, the technical side of, like,
his skin
and shading and everything. Like, there was a picture in the art book of, like, the skin test for how Jack's skin looks. And it's got that sort of, a little bit of glow from... It's got that glow.
Maybe a little bit more of a crystalline structure rather than
Pitch,
like a smoother skin.
Yeah, Pitch, they did not design his skin like normal human skin. And, like, I didn't realize it, but after I read that, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, light does not react with him in the same way.
Yeah, well, he has a neat power that he can kind of, like vanish into the shadows and become shadow.
Yeah.
Like there's that one scene, I think it's about midway, it's about 3/4 of the way in, when I think Easter Honey has turned into that smaller bunny rabbit, rather than this almost, as Jack Frost says, kangaroo like thing. But they're in this like back alley, and instead of seeing Pitch, we just see these like shadows like go across the walls and on the floor and stuff like that, and that's really cool. That was really creepy, though. I don't know if I really noticed like an unnaturalness to him though. So it at least for me, I missed it. Maybe it's very subtle. Like when we did see him, he was humanoid for me. He was more of like vampire-ish.
Like
just this like darker eyes, like bags underneath his eyes.
Like
his teeth are a little bit like sharper. His face is longer. Sunken. His nose is sharper. Yeah. Just these like distinguished, like monsterish.
Yeah, these are
features,
kind of
but
teeth.
Not in the sense where it's like, okay, you're a monster, but you're just like, you're a messed up human being, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's just like this pale shadow thing that doesn't come out from behind his rocks.
Sounds like me.
Another thing I was intrigued about in regards to Pitch is that he represents fear. Every Guardian has this like element that is theirs. Like Jack is fun, the fun of throwing snowballs or sledding or something. And Santa is wonder. And the Easter Bunny is hope, like new life and surprises. And the Tooth Fairy is memories. And the Sandman is dreams. And Pitch is fear. And this movie is about them like banishing that fear. Like if nobody believes in Pitch, then nobody's scared of him, and vice versa. And I get why it wasn't here, but I would have been intrigued to see them like kind of learn to embrace fear. Like fear also has like wonder and delight in it. Like it's fun to be scared sometimes. I was that kid. I loved scary stories. I still love them today.
People, who watch scary movies and like that kind of stuff because they want that feeling. At least in an entertainment sense, and not like actually like, hey, you should come make me fear for my life.
Just go wandering in the dark woods, kids. It'll be fine for everyone. And this is a very classic story of don't be scared of the boogeyman. The boogeyman can't hurt you. Like you've got so many people watching out for you, and everything is safe and it's going to be okay. And I would have liked to have seen some sort of thing of how fear can be kind of fun and useful sometimes. Like fear is not always a thing to be banished or overcome with. It's something you can play with.
Exactly. I kind of want to talk about that. So you're not as much of a video game player. I think you've seen your brothers play some stuff here and there.
Yes. Yep. That's the level I'm at.
Yeah.
Bystander.
So I'm super excited for Kingdom Hearts 3 because I am one of those people, and Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorite games. And I'm replaying them all right now, and it's interesting because when something usually becomes really popular, you will see other things pop up that are supposed to be an imitation of that thing. Coke and Pepsi, right? There's actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think Oreos were originally the copycat and then became so much more popular than
what do we need to do with the Hydrox? Banish Hydrox.
Exactly. That's what I was like, I don't remember what they're called, but the Hydrox cookie sounds like a drug you would take.
It sounds like a soap.
Hey man, you got any more of that Hydrox? But yeah, so like there's usually some kind of knockoff or some kind of competition to go along with that. I don't know if there's really anything like that in terms of Kingdom Hearts. which Kingdom Hearts is a mix of all of these Disney franchises and Final Fantasy franchises. And like Disney has Pixar, and then their competition is DreamWorks. And so I'm kind of wondering if DreamWorks was to do something like that, what that video game would look like.
Ooh.
And I couldn't help but, as I was watching this, and also that I'm replaying all these Kingdom Hearts games, be like, this is kind of like a Kingdom Hearts
It is.
type of
thing. Think about that until you started talking about it. It is all of these known properties put together
in one
around
thing,
this very whimsical, heartfelt story through line of like protecting people and like being friends.
And what's interesting about Kingdom Hearts is they do have that. They have. I would say one character, but I guess there's multiple ones that do take the path of, hey, I went the darker route. I started to do that. I now know that was probably a mistake, but at the same time, it's also part of me. Like, it wasn't necessarily my choice to like be quote unquote evil or stuff like that. Like I there's just I'm not that happy go lucky, everything is hopeful and optimistic. Like, there is a darkness inside of me, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, and in fact, I can kind of use that to help people, or you know, to protect my friends and stuff like that. And yeah, like you said, that's something that's not really explored in this. It is more of just that stereotype of like, oh, well, once you face your fears, then it's not a problem, right? You're just done, and that's it. Moving on. Everything is happy-go-lucky now.
Yeah, it's a very comforting story. Yeah. It is this, you know, it's about guardianship. It's about like finding inner strength and also knowing like there's forces out there in the world that are watching over you and protecting you. And I think I just would have liked to have seen an example of like when fear is kind of fun, like, you know, sledding down a really steep hill with Jack Frost or something like that.
Yeah.
Part of Christmas is scary ghost stories. Inexplicably.
Yeah, it's the ghost of Christmas past.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just to see how, like you said, like part of fun is that like exhilarating experience of like going down that really steep hill, and there's that fear of like just that first step, and then that fear of, oh shit, I think I'm going too fast. And then it's that like he like I feel like he would almost work in tandem with a lot of the other guardians.
Like, this is a movie that talks about like nightmare fear, but
my teeth are falling out. What the hell is happening to me?
There's like blood going down their gums, right?
I want a little bit of like roller coaster fear, like good fun fear mixed in there.
Yeah. Maybe if they ever make a sequel, they'll be teaching him how to have some fun.
Yeah.
I want to do a snowball fight too.
He also kind of reminded me of Gru from Despicable Me.
I
could head canon. I could almost see him like being banished from this movie, and then be like, fine, I'm just gonna go live my own life and start my own family. And then it's Despicable Me, right? How he used to be this super villain that wanted to take over the world, and now he's learning to be a family man and love his daughters and fall in love.
I do want to talk very briefly about the actual kids in this movie.
Go for it.
I didn't remember any of them except for Cupcake. Cupcake is great.
Cupcake.
Burly, muscly, like 10-year-old girl who just wants to be a ballerina, and she's super girly, but she's also like built like a troll.
She's built like a tank, yeah.
Yes, I love her. like the kids in this movie are so like maybe Cupcake aside, she's a little bit more cartoony. Like they're all so normal, but in a way
There's
I think
the
works. Like they're very
geeky
realistic children.
I really liked the geeky one when they're at the end there and they're like,
Yeah.
I'll protect the Guardians. No, I will, and I will. And there's the one guy who's like, I'll try.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yes, I love you. You know you don't have the physical like endurance to do it, but you'll give it your all for 3 whole minutes.
I like these kids' designs and that they weren't over designed. Like their clothes aren't super well put together or accessorized or flashy. And it's like wintertime, like it's chilly. And like there's one of the kids that's wearing like a huge coat and like a huge hat and then just like shorts and like sneakers. Like nobody's really put together. They're all kind of slapdash in this very natural way.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that the little sister, her hair was always a mess.
Yeah.
Because that's so true. I love children, but every child
young
needs
girls especially just
they're always sloppy. I loved that. She's so truthfully, naturally sloppy.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that one nerd kid was my favorite.
Yes.
Because he has his one moment. Like, I don't think I really noticed him before that one thing, and he's just like, well, I'll try. It was great.
I just want to say that I really love the town they're set in. It's this town called Burgess, and I think it's set like roughly around like Pennsylvania. And there's this shot where you can see in the background this big town founder statue. Like there's Thaddeus Burgess, and it's him and his settler family, like with a dog and a shotgun, just like getting ready to reach out into the West. Yes. And like there's posters in the town like, hey, it's the Burgess, annual historical Easter egg hunt festival. Like it's got so much authenticity to it that so easily could have been skipped over. Like this could have just been Townburg, USA. But it feels like a real place. And that was something I learned about in the art book. Like there's a lot of work done on that city and how it is like this old colonial town that like it's become updated, but also other parts of it are like really showing its age. Like if you look in the background, there's so many like rust stains and like old rattly AC units. Like it's not a polished town at all. Yep.
That's where I live. I live in Richmond, and so it's that like mix of colonial and VCU is also buying up the city, so they're renovating a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, like my house has basically a fireplace in every room, but we can't use them because it's illegal. So it's just this like exposed brick useless fire places. My house is so old that like the wood is like slanting in and all that stuff, and then like at winter time when it gets cold, like sometimes people like put plastic up in their windows to like vacuum seal it and stuff like that. That won't work at like my house or a lot of the houses here because it's so old and there's just holes everywhere. So yeah.
Yeah, like and there was another thing I wanted to hear from you. Like, okay, Kyle's an art kid, and he's also from like the colonial states. So let me hear from him how true this really feels, because it feels true to me out here in the Midwest.
Yeah,
like yes, that's what I think Pennsylvania's like. Yeah,
like a lot of the like you'll go to like a local bar here and you'll look up and it looks like a ceiling from the like Civil War era. You can tell like the 3 stores right next to each other all used to be one giant building, right? And they just like separated them off and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's difficult to like build a city from scratch and make it look like authentic like that. And to me, because you have the art book, which you know I'm sure have read through a couple times, or
I
at least like
haven't
looked
actually.
at, or at least
Like,
like looked at the
I
pictures
flipped
and stuff
through it
like
when I
that.
first, yeah, I flipped through it when I first got it, and like the thing
Yeah.
about art books is that
Which is,
they're
I guess,
big and
what I
heavy.
mean. It's an art book. You look at the art, you don't read
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, like they're big and heavy and they're cumbersome to actually read. So I think I got it, flipped through it. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm gonna have to go through this all someday. And then I
Never
didn't
did.
until this morning.
but so I guess my point is like you've at least looked at a little bit more details
Yeah.
of what went into the thing, right?
Uh-huh.
Whereas me, like I watched this film for the first time, but again, that's not something I really noticed.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
I think like stuff like that, like background designs, character design, like textures and stuff like on the skin and the shading and stuff usually doesn't become a problem until people notice it, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
it's one of those things, like if people are noticing it, it's and like wide scale, right? Because there always are gonna be those people kind of like us and what we do here, but we spend the time to look at that stuff, or at least open it up some and try to dive in, right? But that was something that I didn't notice, meaning I think they did it really well.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want the music to be distracting. You don't want the backgrounds to be distracting. So you almost don't want to notice them, in the sense that it needs to be so believable that it's just like, oh yeah, sure, and then you move on.
Yeah, I think this movie has a really great mix of very striking things and very subtle things that you don't pick up on, like, until you've seen the movie a couple times, or until like something tells you to watch out for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And to talk briefly about the story next, because we've been very art focused, which is something I wanted to do. This is such a gorgeous movie. But for the story about it, I really love Jack's character arc, because it's so reflective of who he is in the real world. Like, everybody's heard the phrase, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, but like, he's not a character. He's not a guy.
When you mentioned him last week, I was like, how many noses does he nibble?
And that's the journey, like, Jack, the actual character, goes through. He's like, nobody knows me. Nobody believes in me. I'm nothing.
Yeah.
I loved that meta story that this movie worked with.
Yes. It's an interesting story to me, I think, particularly in how they use the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they added stuff, like that was the one character that I felt like they added to make the story work, right?
Yes.
Santa didn't have, except for the elves, where it's like we let them believe that elves are the ones that make it, but really it's the Yetis, you know?
Yes, I love the Yetis.
But everyone else was pretty much what you would expect. The Easter bunny paints these eggs and hides them, and that's it. Sandman brings children these dreams, and that's it, right? But the Tooth Fairy not only collects these teeth and gives them money in return, but the reason she does this is because the teeth hold the like the children's best childhood memories.
Yeah.
Which in a weird way explains why like a lot of people don't have very many memories of when they are like children.
Yes.
Right? They have like a couple things that might stand out, but it's like I really only start to remember things when I'm like 6 or 7, maybe 8 or 9, you know, somewhere around there is when I'm really cognizant of like, I'm a human, I'm existing, like there's this thing called memory, maybe I should start recording these things, you know?
Yeah.
So like obviously you have a memory. What happens to those things? Oh, they're locked in your teeth, which makes no sense, but sure. But
it makes sense in a magical fantasy way.
Sure, yeah, exactly. And so they take that and run with it, and yeah, I mean, I guess it's this idea of Jack Frost really doesn't know who he is. Like, he just wakes up and is Jack Frost, and he thinks he's always been that. Just kind of strange.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder if that happened to the other people too, like if they all had past lives before that, and then they wake up and one day, oh, I guess I'm gonna collect teeth now. Okay.
Yeah, and like the thing about Jack Frost is that he does have that Casper thing where he is a dead boy. He's a ghost, effectively. And I don't know if anybody else is a ghost. I don't know if like Santa Claus died and then came back to life as Santa Claus.
Yeah. I mean, like that's almost what I'm wondering is like who else, like what other kind of legendary being is that the right term?
Sure, yes.
Mythical creature. Like what else there is? Like who is that mouse? The one from like, oh, he's from the European division.
Yes.
I have no idea who that is.
That I remember that from like my French class in high school. That is their equivalent of the Tooth Fairy. It's this little mouse that basically does the same thing. Yeah, basically does the same thing the Tooth Fairy does. It sneaks into your house, it takes your teeth, and it leaves you like a franc, I guess, because you're in France.
Weird.
A euro if you're a recent child in France. But yeah, that is a legit cultural thing. And I liked how multicultural this movie was. Like, the Easter Bunny doesn't need to be Australian, but it's fun that he is. And that's a really good match, weirdly enough.
Hugh Jackman. It's Wolverine. Playing the Easter Bunny.
And I read that like they cast Hugh Jackman and then they developed this whole like Outback aesthetic for the Easter Bunny. Like he was completely different before they got Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if they took inspiration from Captain Boomerang, who's a DC comic book villain. He's a member of the Suicide Squad, or often is.
This sounds familiar now.
Yeah, so if you've seen Suicide Squad, Captain Boomerang was in that movie. He was played. Was it Jai Courtney? I don't know why that name is coming to mind. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I can confirm that is a real human name for somebody.
He was the one that always had to have the stuffed animal. Did you see that movie?
I'm still on my way to it. I'm going to.
Don't
Kyle,
watch it.
Kyle, you know who I am. You know my heart is made out of trash.
Don't do this to yourself.
I'm going to. Because
Melissa,
I have.
Melissa, you can you can understand fear, but you don't have to believe in it. Okay? It's a terrible movie.
I want to know. I want to quantify it. How is it terrible?
Have you ever been inside a Hot Topic?
Many times? Is that
Imagine
too many
Hot
times?
Topic as a movie.
I did. It seems like an all right way to spend an hour and a half. I could spend an hour and a half a lot worse than Suicide Squad, honestly, I think.
We're done. Podcast over. We're not coming back next year.
Remind you how much I also love Lost. That's
yes, saved. All right, good. Lost. No,
yeah, I don't let the badness of a movie scare me away if it's like associated with a thing I like. Like, I'm intrigued by superhero movies. Even the worst superhero movie I will still watch just so that I know what that part of the landscape is. You know, like in The Lion King where he's like, and that's the Shadowlands. You don't go over there. But Simba's like, oh, but I want to see what it looks like. That's me.
But I want to see the Shadowlands.
Shadows
are cool. Yeah. So I guess my point is he kind of reminded me of Captain Boomerang, who is this Australian guy who uses these boomerangs, right? And here is this Australian bunny that uses boomerangs and hides eggs. Whatever. So yeah, that was that. I don't know where else I was going with that besides to say I wonder if they pulled inspiration from him.
Who knows? I don't know. I didn't pick up on that one in the book. It seems like they just worked back after they got Hugh Jackman in the role. And I like the Easter Bunny a lot because I always love a stick in the mud character. I'm always so entertained by just somebody being grouchy and uptight. Always works on me.
Yeah.
And I like the tooth a lot too because for like sappy sentimental reasons, like hummingbirds were my grandma's favorite animal and her place was covered in hummingbird stuff. And now it's like my favorite animal too by osmosis.
Hummingbirds. I guess I didn't put that together. I like there's so many things in this movie I missed then. I didn't notice the beautiful skin on Pitch Black. I did not notice all of the colonial rust stains on this city, and I didn't think to be like, oh, the fairies are like hummingbirds. I get it now.
Seen a hummingbird? I think that one's pretty obvious.
I have seen plenty of hummingbirds. I don't. Maybe my mind was not. I was not like, okay, what are these? Oh, hummingbirds. Yes, indubitably. I see now. Hummingbirds. Like, yes, right.
The Tooth Fairy is supposed to be like the National Geographic version of what a fairy would be. Like the closest fairy type animal that we have, I would say yes, I would consider it a hummingbird. They're tiny and quick and just brightly colored and vibrant. And I think her character is very sweet. It's a little weird, like reading into the art book, like they based so much of like in the early versions of her design and a lot of the design that made it into the movie of like not a lair, like her headquarters, her tooth palace where she lives. It's based on a lot of Eastern things. Like there's a lot of like India and China and like Thailand in her like background.
Yeah.
They ended up with it's just this much of a face poking out from the rest of a hummingbird body. But she's awfully white looking to have come from a background like that they were considering.
It's an interesting mix, like the Santa being more Russian, Eastern European kind of thing. That makes sense. Like there's that's still white to me. That makes sense. But yeah, like that being said, this movie is very American. It is, or I guess like it is like a United States movie, right?
Yeah.
Which is just something I've thought about for a long time, whether it's music or movies and all that stuff. A lot of the stuff that we're inundated with is like American top 40 stuff. Here's the best Hollywood stuff. Here's the best, like the best mainstream American hip hop or rock or country, or you know, here's all that stuff. But you don't hear about many other things that are not American.
Yeah.
Or like the one other thing we do hear about is the British stuff, because it's also English. And us stupid Americans can somewhat understand English.
I think
but there's so much more stuff out there. So I guess just to say my point is, yeah, I thought that's a weird mix. I don't know how international the Tooth Fairy is. Or, I mean, obviously they have a European division. But
and that might have been part of it, actually, now that you say it. Like, they thought about those things in her design, but, like, the concept of a tooth fairy is, like, a Western concept. Yeah. And so to make her, like, I don't know, maybe a person of color, and so she's barely a person. She's a little face on a bird body. But
Indian or Chinese or just
might be
Asian
kind of odd because like those cultures, like they don't have that. Maybe I don't know. That's a good point. Like maybe I don't know how outside of like Western Europe and America you get a tooth fairy concept.
Yeah, and besides that one mention of the European division, they don't specify if that's the like. I mean, as you said, that is the, excuse me,
Mhm.
That is the like European tooth fairy, but they don't mention if that's like also if there's like a European guardian division.
Yeah, is there a big mouse over there the way that we have like the big hummingbird lady?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. But then if that's the case, if they do have other divisions, yeah, like why don't we see more of these legendary creatures, these mythical beings?
Yeah, they've got like
From
Krampus and a big rat king
right,
and
like
Baba Yaga.
well, not only that stuff, but just like from other countries too. Like, what does
Yeah.
India have? What does
Yeah.
China have? Why
Mhm.
aren't they a part of this? Like, I
Yeah.
like, especially if you're bringing all of those
Mhm.
properties to like again. I understand this is a very American
Yeah. And it
movie,
was,
so I see why
when
they cut it down
yeah, and it
to
was like especially
only
coming
the
from where it came from,
American stuff.
like this guy telling his kids about the stuff they had heard about, like
Right.
connecting a world out of the couple things his little kids knew.
But I think this is also an opportunity. Like it was an
Yeah.
opportunity for them to be like, well, here's what they do in China. Here's
Yeah.
what happens in Poland. You know,
Mhm.
here's what happens. I don't know. Just like what else is out there?
Yeah, like I like how multicultural this movie is, but I think it could do a lot more with that than it has
Yeah,
done.
and just that lack of stuff makes the like, as you said, the like design decisions for the Tooth Fairy seem a little strange. Of like, why
Yeah.
is that a little more Indian, or like why is that a little more like Eastern culture versus Western?
Yeah. I do like the Easter Bunny again though. Like they didn't think about making him Australian until they cast Hugh Jackman and they're like, "Oh, let's take like that actor's background and incorporate it into the character." Like it's more of that, but I like that as a starting point.
Yeah,
Mm.
good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff. I think that's all I really have to say. We did start to talk about the story, and then we kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
I guess just to wrap
Story's pretty
that
basic.
up,
I like it, but there's nothing.
We started talking about the teeth and the
Oh,
weirdness
yes.
about the teeth, and that's kind of the crux of the story, is that Jack then finds out that he had a life before all of this, and that he doesn't have those memories. So if he gets his teeth back, then he can find like he can get his memories back, and he can find out who he was, which is also a very video gamey thing of like, you have to go collect 900
Oh yeah, the collecting
teeth,
part, yeah.
and you know they're scattered throughout the world. Have fun finding them, you know. And the more you get, the more memories you receive, and the more joy you can bring to children, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I like the story of this movie. It's got a couple neat touches, like the meta thing about Jack Frost not really being anybody. But I think the real strength of this film is the artwork of it. Like, I didn't remember a lot about the story, but the artwork, like all those sand creatures, like the shots of like the huge brontosaurus made out of dream sand, like that has stuck with me for years. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
I was going to ask, what did this remind you of, and what would you recommend based on this movie?
Kingdom Hearts.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's a video game, so it's not really like something you can go watch or read. What did this remind me of? I don't know. Like I feel it's not a holiday thing, but also kind of Shrek. The idea that they're kind of taking these, like, it's not a comedy. Right, so Shrek is obviously meant to be a comedy, like an action comedy type of thing. But again, just the idea that they're taking all of these kind of fairy tale things and putting them into one universe is kind of interesting. Which I think Shrek is also a DreamWorks thing.
Yes. I wanted to talk about just how this compares among the rest of DreamWorks film library. Because I feel like DreamWorks is...
They get looked over a little bit here and there.
Yeah, they really do. And like they just sort of think, oh, it's Shrek and Shrek type things. Or people are like, oh, I love How to Train Your Dragon. But like,
yes,
that
was also
else.
what I was going to say, especially in his flashback when he finally gets his memories. It's like, oh, that's what's his name from How to Train Your Dragon. Like it looks exactly like he would fit in there, or like
Tangled. I can see old Jack and Hiccup being friends.
Yeah.
This is also a lot less funny than your average DreamWorks movie. I feel like DreamWorks does comedy very well. Like, honestly, one of my favorite movies is Megamind. Megamind is hysterical. I love it so much.
I've seen that like once, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Revisit Megamind.
It was good. Didn't they also do Bolt, or was that Disney?
Bolt is Disney.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I think DreamWorks is very good at being funny, and it's not like this movie had like jokes that fell flat. It just didn't try to be very jokey, and I'd like just like 10% more jokes in it. Like it's a fairly straightforward like fantasy adventure story. Yeah. And I'd like a tiny bit more humor because I know the studio as a whole can do that very well.
I don't want it to be a comedy though.
No, exactly. Yeah,
like,
I don't want it to be a comedy, but
take note from like the Marvel movies of like, you know, you can go watch Captain America and that's like a spy thriller, but there's some funny moments in there, right? Yeah. but yeah, so like having maybe 1 or 2 more jokes in there would have been fantastic.
Yeah, like How to Train Your Dragon, I think, is the closest other DreamWorks movie to this one. And that is like this big, sweeping, epic fantasy adventure, but it's also fairly funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you like this, consider looking into the rest of DreamWorks' film catalog. There's some stuff that's really overlooked. I really like Monsters vs. Aliens. Nobody ever talks about that one.
I don't think I've seen that one.
No, it's about this girl who's like, this woman's getting ready for her wedding day, and then like a meteorite crashes from outer space and it turns her into a giant woman. And it's just about this giant woman and all of these...
the 50-foot woman?
Yeah, and she bonds with like these alien dudes that are in her like government holding pen of weird creatures. And these alien dudes like help her understand, hey, that guy you were gonna marry, he's not good for you. It's about her becoming more independent as a 50-foot mutant woman. It's such a weird movie, but it's real charming.
I wonder if it's like a spoof / love letter to like the old like B sci-fi horror films.
Because there's like a bug man and like a blob monster, all that stuff.
It's terrible. Cool. Well, yeah, go check this out. It's a great holiday film to watch with the family.
If you don't get to it now, you could save it till Easter.
Yeah, you have from now until Easter to watch it, and then you have to wait.
Everybody talks about The Nightmare Before Christmas as a dual holiday movie, and nobody talks about Rise of the Guardians.
Yeah, there you go. That would be I mean, I guess now we've already done Rise of the Guardians, but that would be an interesting theme. Can we pitch holiday movies that have dual holidays in them? We have Nightmare Before Christmas, this one, and then we need a third. Let us know, internet, if you have any ideas. But yeah, so that's that. That's that. Go check it out. It is my turn to pitch stuff for this next week.
Last pitches of the year.
Yes. So for our last episode, we are going to be recording it, I guess, mid-December, and then it will be out, as I said earlier on in the episode, for like the weekend before Christmas. It's like the 22nd. Ish, something around there. I don't know if that is the right date or not, but whatever that Sunday is. So So I also wanted to do Christmas movies.
Oh.
Yeah. So
you told me before you weren't a huge Christmas movie fan, so I'm surprised.
Well, so okay, I guess I'm not doing Christmas movies, but like Christmas themed things.
Okay. All right, cool.
Or even more Christmas adjacent than what
Christmas
you did.
Adjacent I'm fine with. Yes.
And mine are a little bit more on the weirder side.
Oh, I like weird.
So, first one, let me pull up my notes here. Where is it? Okay, first one, I actually want to do a compare and contrast episode, meaning we have something to watch and something to read at the same time.
Okay.
And
the Polar Express and the Polar Express.
No, it's only if you pick this first pitch, so it's not that each one is a compare and contrast. But pitch number one is Happy. It is a comic written by Grant Morrison and has also been turned into an 8-episode TV show with and I forget what's the
Is this the one with Christopher Maloney?
Yes. That's the one.
I know what you're talking about.
That's the one. I was about to say, who's the guy? If we remember when we watched Wet Hot American Summer and he was the chef and he's also in like CSI and whatever the fuck those shows are. So it's a 4-issue comic book and an 8-issue or 8-episode TV show.
Yes.
And it is about it follows Nick Sachs, who's the main character, and he is a beat up alcoholic cop who has a massive heart attack. And when he wakes up, he sees a small flying blue unicorn that apparently only he can see. And this unicorn is imploring him to go save a little girl who's been kidnapped by a man dressed as Santa.
There it is. There's the connection. Okay.
Yes. So that is pitch number one. And that will, like I said, that's a compare and contrast thing. So that should be a lot of fun. Pitch number two, not as crazy, but crazy in a different way. I want to read Gotham Central Book 2. And you might be like, okay, why are we reading book 2 and not book number 1? It's a mix of so Gotham Central is a crime noir comic book that takes place in Gotham, but does not follow Batman. It follows the police.
Yes.
In Gotham. Excuse me, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time saying that word. But it's one of it's a fantastic book. I've read this entire series. And book number 2 starts out with a story that takes place during Christmas as the Joker is going on a murder spree. And the interesting thing about this book is, if you're in Gotham, you live where Batman lives. If you're a cop, like, what? Batman is the greatest detective. But if, as a cop, you can't do your job and you're just letting this vigilante, like, solve all of these cases, what does that say about the cops? Like, they're like, do you actually need the cops? Like, what are they there for? So it's this idea of like, hey, like, we have this sense of pride. We're cops. We need to actually do our job. We have like 48 hours before Batman swoops in and solves this. And at the same time, like, how do you not only solve these crimes in these cases, but what if it's the Joker? What if it's Mr. Freeze who's like making these things? Like, it's an actual like super villain, right? Not just some guy who robbed a bank, you know? Like it's actually like someone who wants to like turn all of Gotham into a wintry wonderland forever, you know? Like what happens then? So, book 2 actually I think has multiple stories in it, but the first 4 are that like Joker's story. But I think in total it's like 9 issues of a comic book, 9 or 10, something like that. So Gotham Central book 2, I believe it's called. Hold on.
Okay.
I have it here on my thing. It's book 2, Jokers and Madmen.
Looks nice.
My camera, that's what it is. And it is written by Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka with art by Michael Lark. What did we just do? I think didn't we just do something by Ed Brubaker? Let me see. Interwebs.
You and me?
Yeah, I think it did some kind of crime something. Blah blah blah. Let's look through these old things.
Okay, so what are the comics we've done this year? We did Strangers in Paradise, All-Star Superman, Plutona, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Go check out all of these great back episodes.
I guess not. Maybe I've pitched some stuff.
I think maybe you did.
I guess episode 2 I did Velvet.
Yes, that's what it was.
But that was by myself. You hadn't jumped on the show yet.
I listened to it, so unless you could feel me listening to it, no.
Anyways,
we didn't do it together.
We also did an episode on All-Star Superman, which is Grant Morrison, who wrote the Happy comic. But yeah, so this book is by Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka, with art by Michael Lark. This is like crime noir comics super team. It is amazing. And if you're not familiar with any of their work, go look them up and read some of their comics because it's amazing. So that is pitch number 2. Pitch number 3, I gotta pull up the interwebs because I didn't have time to write this one down, is also a comic. It's a graphic novel called Superman, Peace on Earth.
Oh.
And it's by Paul Dini and art by Alex Ross. Paul Dini is a fantastic writer. He's written for Batman and Superman and all sorts of stuff. He also worked on Batman, the animated series. He's the creator of Harley Quinn as well. And Alex Ross, I'm sure you guys have seen his artwork. He does all those beautiful, like statuesque, like 1920s style paintings of all these superheroes and stuff like that. So this book, Superman Peace on Earth, is a graphic novel that finds Superman confronted by the stark reality of the holiday season. The fact that people around the world are starving. So the Man of Steel heroically sets out to prove that the problem of starvation can be solved by making sure no one on his adopted planet goes hungry for 24 hours.
Oh.
So Peace on Earth is a tale where Superman's fantastic powers are on display, but the real star of the story is his biggest superpower, his heart.
That's true. I have such a soft... I haven't done much with Superman. Like, when we read All-Star Superman, that was the first time I'd ever read him, except for his brief appearance in The Dark Knight Returns. But I've got such a soft spot for him because he's just like me, just a big, gooey Midwesterner. Like, me and him are the same.
Exactly. This exciting, powerful, and incredibly poignant tale shows you that Superman may be an alien, but it is his very human desire to create a better world that makes him such an inspiring character. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read the rest of this little website that I found the description on. There you go.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting array of pitches. Those are all good.
Yeah, so pitch number one, happy, hard-boiled detective cop maybe goes crazy and has to save someone who's been kidnapped by someone in a Santa suit.
Mm-hmm.
Pitch number two, Gotham Central Book 2, Jokers and Madmen, in which Joker terrorizes people during the holiday season. And pitch number three, Superman Peace on Earth, where he's like, I wonder if just for 24 hours I can feed everyone on Earth.
Those DC titles sound so fun in like very different ways. Like I'd be down for just like the cops of Gotham City trying to deal with the Joker.
Fantastic book.
I'm down for Superman being like a big softy who just wants to give people like corn. But
eat the corn! Eat it!
This is our last episode of the year, and I love the idea of doing a compare and contrast about something as weird as Happy. So I want to go out on top with that one.
There you go. So if I'm not mistaken, the TV show is on Netflix.
Awesome.
I think I just saw it on Netflix, so you can watch that there. The comic book you may have to pick up somewhere else. I don't know where you can get it for free. It is only 4 issues,
Mm-hmm.
so it should be fairly cheap to find a collected version of that, or you can just get them on Comixology or something for cheap. So yeah, go read and watch Happy with us. I'm sure it'll be an interesting ride.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited. Also, Superman was weird, and the fact that this is like an original story and Grant Morrison doesn't have the big larger-than-life classic hero of Superman to like tie himself to. How much weirder is this going to get?
Yeah, who knows? So we will see. We'll see what is going on there. Let's see, do I have any other kind of last-minute housekeeping things you should be aware of? Again, this is our penultimate episode. The next one we do on Happy will be our last one of the year. And then coming in January, Season 2.
Yay!
Not this, but this. I am holding up 2 on each of my hands. Yeah, so that being said, I guess we also have one more episode to do of the Captain's Log, and that will be it. We are also planning on doing a anniversary episode. This is the Whatnauts 3rd year anniversary, and that should be, we're gonna be recording it before the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll live stream it. However, I don't think it's going to be coming out until like the end of the year / start of the year. That might be the first thing you guys see in your feeds when we come back from the holidays. So that should be a lot of fun too. That's just going to be as many members of the Whatnauts as we can get on a podcast. Mm-hmm. Some you may have seen, some you may not have seen. Who knows? And we're just going to be hanging out, and maybe we're going to be drinking, who knows, and maybe we're going to be talking about what we did this year, and it's going to be fantastic and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And all the stuff we would like to do in the future here at the Whatnauts.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a virtual holiday party.
Yes.
There we go.
So just imagine rocking around the Christmas tree playing very softly in the background in your own minds.
Yeah, so that should be a lot of fun, so look for that. You guys can follow us on Twitter at the Whatnauts, which is where we will update you on the exact details for that. We're still finalizing some things with that, so we will let you know on Twitter when that is a thing. Melissa, where can the party people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. I just changed my Twitter profile image for the first time in like 5 years.
There you go. It's up to date now.
Yes.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at YoKyleSpringer. I tweet a lot about video games and stuff and things. as Rick would say from The Walking Dead. But yeah, so that is that. This has been episode 37 of the Whatnauts Review Show. I guess we will see you guys next time. Adios, guys.
Bye.